Hello there. So my name's Edward Baker, strength and conditioning coach, lecturer, and a massive boxing and mixed martial arts fan.
Hello, my name is Shabir Haidari. I'm a pro boxer, just turned pro now. I'm a strength and conditioning student, and combat lover, if you call it.
Excellent. And we're gonna have a little look ahead to Canelo Alvarez versus Billy Joe Saunders, which is happening in a couple of days' time, and give our prediction what we think's gonna happen, and it's gonna be on the record. So one of us is going to be right, one of us is going to be wrong, and it all remains to be seen.
Yep.
Shab, give us an introduction. What do you think this fight looks like to you? Who's your favourite and why?
Well, obviously, going into this fight, we got to choose Canelo, because he's just got that one punch knockout power that, like, no matter what, he will just let you win all the rounds, regardless. But you will still have the self-belief and the self-confidence that he will get you eventually. So, yeah.
See, back in Canelo. He's definitely the favourite for this, and Billy Joe is the underdog. But Billy Joe's never lost. Obviously, Canelo has lost a fight. How much difference do you think that makes? And is it a blessing that he lost to Mayweather, or is it better to have that perfect record where you sit?
I think when Canelo fought Mayweather, Mayweather he's one of the greatest boxer of all time, really, if you think about it. But when Canelo fought Mayweather, he wasn't experienced enough for Mayweather to fight him, and I think which probably caused him his loss. But even though when he fought Mayweather, one judge still gave the fight a draw, so which is a bit like it was a close fight.
True.
But looking at the Canelo's pedigree and the fighters, the champions he fought, it's all top levels, and he's won them all like very unanimously.
Staying with that Mayweather fight, do you feel Canelo got frustrated in that fight? Do you think that he did deviate from his game plan? And is that an opening potentially?
I think one thing, I've watched lots of interviews, videos of Canelo and all the fighters. I think one thing with Canelo, if you think about it now, if you look back on his fight with Mayweather, I think there was a lot of hype behind Mayweather will win. It got to Canelo that he's going to win, which straight away put Canelo on the back foot and made him a little, I can't really say nervous because he was throwing punches, but he was very hesitant. But obviously Mayweather is very good defensively, and also when you look back at Triple G's first fight with Canelo, even then the hype was that Triple G is a knockout artist, he will knock you out. So I think there was a bit of a possibly confident issue which put Canelo on his back foot, even though he could take Triple G's shots. So when you compare his first Triple G's fight to his second one, Canelo realized actually the hype, oh yeah, he is good,
but I can take it.
But I can take his punch.
Yeah.
I can take his punch. I can put him on the back foot. And that's when the first fight, I believe that Triple G won, whereas the second one,
I agree.
Canelo won it very.
I'd have given that first one to Triple G.
Yeah.
I think he adjusted better, and I think he had Canelo shy of the right hand.
Yeah.
So, thinking about Saunders then, with so far it looks like he's got a mountain to climb. How is he going to do it? So if you were part of his team and you're preparing him for this, what are you going to look at tactically, technically to prepare him?
I think, we got to look at the fact that Billy Joe Saunders can hurt Canelo. Obviously, after watching Canelo's fight with all these, look at Kovalev. Like heavyweight, he went up and fought him, and he was back in the light heavyweight. So
was that the best Kovalev?
Yeah, you could say
too many miles on the clock.
Too many miles on the clock, but still, you know, before that, Kovalev fought Anthony Yard. You know, he's won it, but then still, yeah, he did get rocked on round 11, I think, with Anthony Yard, but I mean, Triple G knocked him, sparked out, and then back to Billy Joe Saunders. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he can't hurt him 100%. He will be able to. He might hurt him, but can Canelo take the punch? Billy Joe Saunders' punch? Yes, he will take it. But then it's not about you can take the punch. It's not about giving the punches. Can you take the punch? So I believe with Saunders, the best way to win from Canelo is hit and move, punch and move, punch and move. Do not get in the corner or don't get into exchanges with him.
Do you think that the natural size difference is going to be a factor in this fight? Canelo is obviously very muscular and lean, and he's built himself up over the weight divisions, but he's 5'8", and I think Billy Joe's around 6 foot. And to look at him, he's not as muscularly developed, but he's naturally a much bigger man at that weight. Does that make a difference? If it does, what kind of difference does it make, do you think?
I think if we look over time with Canelo's thing, I think he's still growing. You know, he still hasn't reached, even though he's pound for pound king. That's what they call him. But he's still got development, and he's still developing. After every fight, he's getting better, stronger, and bigger. But he's still staying at the same weight. Whereas Billy Joe Saunders kind of stayed. Yeah, he's getting better technically. Faster, you know, his ring IQ is getting a lot better. But is he getting bigger? I wouldn't say he is. I think he stayed the same for the past few fights. Whereas if you watch Canelo, he's getting bigger and he's getting stronger. When you watch his fight against Callum Smith, I mean, he just ripped the guy's bicep just by punching, rather than hitting him in the face, punching him in the arm. So that was his plan. Like literally, when you look back at the fight, all he did is punch him in the arm. All he did is punch him in the arm. Whereas in boxing, they tell you, don't punch him in the arm. You know, it's a defense. They block it with the arm. People block the punches with the arm. But he actually punched him in the arm rather than punch him in the face. So
he almost has an era of early Mike Tyson about him, doesn't he?
Yeah.
That fear that he creates in opponents. Everybody's behind him for that. Well, everyone apart from obviously Billy Joe's team and Tyson Fury. And there's something, but for me, there's something about the mentality that Billy Joe has that I don't think he is scared of Canelo, and I don't think he's just there for a payday. I think he actually believes in himself. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the guy, look at him. He believes in himself. He loves the sport, and obviously there's a reason why he hasn't lost any of his fights. He is good. You know, he's not just any fighter that could just get in with Canelo just for a payday. He does believe himself, and he's risking his to be great. So yeah, I mean, but although he does believe in himself, but then there's a limit to so much you can do, your body can do. You know, your mind tells you can do it, but then your body can't do it. You know, but then, and in boxing, there's lots of things like that. It's just that one punch, whereas like once you get caught, no matter how much your mind tells you, you can still recover. Your body won't be able to recover from that.
I think Billy Joe's a bit faster than Canelo. I think his hand speed is faster. And I wonder if that, combined with being southpaw, is going to be an advantage for him, a tool that he can use. Can you talk a little bit about how it's different when an orthodox fighter faces a southpaw, and what adjustments you think Canelo would have to make because of the matchup being that way around?
I think I mean, when you Canelo's when you like usually he fights all orthodox, but this time, yeah, it is different because he's fighting southpaw. But then there is a thing where with Canelo, he likes his body shots, the liver shots, and he's probably dropped a lot of his fighters just with that single body shots. But when if he's because he's southpaw, Billy Joe, if Canelo can land that shot, the liver shot, easy. It's not easy because he's southpaw.
It's further away.
It's further away. Well, it's closer, sort of, to him, but it's the hands that's like, can he block it with the with his hand, whereas it's hard to just describe it unless I kind of show it you what I mean. You know, so if you're like southpaw, you're standing in your
stay on camera, you probably can.
Boxing stance.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, let's do the live demo.
Okay.
So I'm going to stand southpaw, and I actually am a southpaw, so here we go.
There you go. So if you're a southpaw, and obviously Canelo is orthodox, he's got to be able to kind of hit you right there in the liver shot. That's the shot. Whereas usually, if you get orthodox, if you change your stance, and it's a lot easier. That hand is always usually up, and it's a lot easier to take that shot. But when you're changing your stance, that hand blocks it.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot less chances of picking that shot. But saying that, it's also closer. You know.
Yeah.
Your liver is closer to him.
The liver is closer.
Delivery is closer.
It's a tasty target.
But can Billy Joe Saunders step and use the Lomachenko moves, step across and pivot?
Right. So this is the thing. When I watch a lot of Canelo. I watch everyone training because I'm fascinated by him, particularly the technical and physical things they do. And what I've seen from Canelo, particularly his coach using the foam handles and the towel.
Yeah.
And I see him slip in a towel and he counters off it. And you think, well, why are you using that? Well, I think the reason to use the foam, it moves faster than a hand.
Yeah.
It's even faster than a hand because you got longer lever. You can develop more speed. So what he's doing is reacting to a stimulus even faster and countering. But the flaw that I see, if you can call it a flaw, is that a lot of Canelo's head movement and counters are based on traditional orthodox combinations that are coming at him, a jab, cross, hook.
Yeah.
He can stay in the pocket, evade them and counter with that rhythm. And I'm going to say like I'm bigging up Billy Joe Saunders too much, but I feel that because he's southpaw, he's faster and he has this awkward style that Canelo is not as prepared to counter in the same way. Their rhythm is not there. Am I onto something with this, or is it complete rubbish?
No, you are, absolutely. I mean, most of the boxers Canelo fought was normal stance, whereas Billy's lefty. It is going to be obviously a lot harder for him. But when you're in that level, the level that Canelo is, you don't train, like you don't have a training camp for any fight. You have a training camp for a specific fight. So when you get to, like, you train years after years after years, training camp after training camp, fight after fight, you learn all the dirty tricks, the good tricks, everything. So you've got that all in your bag, but then all of them are just there in your bag to use. But then when you have a training camp, when you have a different fighter, you've got all the tools that you need. All you need to do is sharpen those tools, specific tools. You know, you kind of, probably Canelo's been watching a lot of Billy Joe Saunders fights, how he fights, what mistakes he makes, find flaws in his games, you know, and that's what they probably have done. Watch his videos and see any mistakes they make and prepare him for that specific movement or that specific punch or a specific mistake that Billy Joe Saunders might make, and he has to pay for it.
How's he going to do it then? How's he going to break him down? How's Canelo going to break down Saunders, do you think?
I think to be honest, he's just going to walk through him. That's like, he will try, because if you watch all his fights, he likes to take control of the pace of the fight. He sets the pace, and he makes himself the dominant, the top dog, and he wants to control the ring.
How does he do that?
Just he's not afraid of getting caught, because he's got that self-belief after fighting those top-level fighters. He's got the self-belief that no matter who it is, they won't hurt him, they won't knock him out. He can take a punch. So if he can take a punch, and he knows he can punch, he knows if you look at his record, he's been knocking people out, like as I said, Kovalev, all those top fighters. So he knows he can punch, he knows he can knock people out, and then he also knows he's a lot bigger for the weight he is right now. Yeah. So knowing all those stuff, you don't need to be on his back foot. You don't need to be on his back foot, and you don't need to be hesitant. He knows he just needs to get close and land those big bombs.
How is someone else going to take away that ability to control a fight? So whether it's Billy Joe or any future fighter, if he's so dominant, how would you prepare for that? Do you prepare that, okay, I'm going to let him take the center of the ring and I'm going to move, I'm going to basically give him that position? Or are you going to say, no, I'm going to control the pace of the fight, and this is how I neutralize his skills and how I have to fight on my terms? What would you pick? How would you do it?
I think, for the past day or for the past few days, as we've seen, there's been a lot of conflict between Canelo's team and Billy Joe Saunders' team, all because of the ring size. So
Canelo wants it in a phone box.
Canelo wants it in a small ring where he don't have to travel a lot to find his opponent, whereas Billy Joe Saunders, he knows that if he's enclosed in a very small ring, he won't have a lot of space to move. And obviously knowing Canelo's power, and if he lands one of those shots, it could be very risky for Billy Joe Saunders. But when you prepare for someone like Canelo, you got to do everything perfect. So, but the key element fighting Canelo would be, you got to be absolutely super fit. You got to be a machine. Absolutely. When you do a round, when you come back into your corner, you shouldn't even breathe heavy. You need to be that fit. So to be able to do that for the 12 rounds, although it's not very realistic, because it will take. Can you do that? Can you do that? Can you get that fit? Of course you can. Human bodies are capable of anything. Mm-hmm. We can do anything if we put our mind and our body into it, which Billy Joe Saunders is mentally very strong. So I do believe he's going to be absolutely the best shape of his life. But if he's not, he is mistaken going into that fight, definitely. He needs to be fit, but then also his angles. He needs to be able to kind of switch and change those angles so fast that Canelo's can't even get close to him, because he likes to get the pace, he likes to walk you down, but you need to be able to step across and pivot, go behind him very easy and very quick. Yeah, you will get caught with those shots, but when you in exchange with Canelo, you need to make sure you keep those hands high all the time. If you watch Canelo's fight with Amir Khan, he's won it all the way.
It's a demolition job.
He was winning all the way to the sixth round, but Canelo knew he just needed to land that one punch, so he waited for it, and then if you watch Khan's first round, second round, third round, fourth round, he was great because he was fit, he was able to keep his hands up and stay fast. But after the sixth round, he got a bit slow and sloppy, and he got a bit too comfortable. Mm-hmm. That's when you get too comfortable and too sloppy, this is when Canelo is very dangerous.
This is interesting hearing it from you, that you have to be relaxed and believe in your ability, but you can't be too comfortable because then you make errors. So what is that fine line? Like, it's not, is it nerves or is it being professional? How do you describe that state where you're completely focused but you're not too comfortable to relax, you're not complacent, but you're also not so hyped up that you're going to burn up energy? How do you achieve that Goldilocks zone?
I think it's a lot of it is mentally, you know. You got to have the self belief. First thing is the self belief is the most important, because when you believe in yourself, just like Billy Joe Saunders does, you know, which is great. He believes in himself and he thinks he can win the fight, which is good. Like, but when you've got some doubts, it prevents you from going in and performing your best, your best performance. But when you believe in yourself, you go out there, you perform your best, but then also you protect yourself. Self belief is good, but you also need to be aware of the dangers, what's surrounding, you know, who you're fighting with, you know, what's the risk. Yeah, it's good. Like all the boxers, if you ask him, they say, "Oh, I've got great chin, I won't get knocked out," you know. But when they get caught, they probably say different. As you said, the mindset, you also got to be sharp but relaxed. If you look at Lomachenko, I'm a big fan of Lomachenko. His training technique, I think I've never seen any other boxer do it. He's the only one. He's specifically hired a psychologist, you know, so just to keep his mind sharp. So he was training very hard, and then after that, and he was working on numbers, different things, to keep still able to keep his mind sharp. So his mind, even though his body is under a lot of pressure, his mind is still able to kind of work and find solutions for problems, or add some numbers that if you're tired, your mind just kind of boom, shuts down, whereas he keeps his mind sharp. And with different workout, with different. And is he
doing that within? He's doing that within his physical training.
Within
as well.
His physical
so
training,
solving problems, staying
yeah.
flexible in his
staying
life.
Flexible, and I think
interesting.
It is very interesting, you know. But when you look at his fighting style, Lomachenko, he's constantly. If you look at him, he's very fast and he's always sharp. You know, he's always like where he needs to put his foot. He was thinking always 3 steps ahead. You know, some people just thinks 1 step ahead. Okay, what if I throw my jab and he throws his right hand? What do I need to do? That's 1 step ahead you're thinking. But where was Lomachenko, because of the training methods he was using, this psychologist, his strength and conditioning, and then his technical coaching, it kind of kind of enabled him to think 3 or 4 steps ahead. So he had answer for every single boxer, or every single move they were making. He knew what to do or what punch to throw before they even threw it, or before he even threw it. So he was always ahead. But saying that, if you watch Lomachenko's last fight, we're going from Canelo into Lomachenko. If you watch his last fight, he lost against Timur Lopez. So he lost it, but why did he lose it? I think it was a bit of a self-belief. You know, he kind of got hesitant. He got hurt and he got hesitant. You know, but he was the greatest boxer and he still is. I think, like, technically he is great. Footwork, one of the best in the world, I think. But going back to Canelo and Billy Joe Saunders, like Billy Joe Saunders, he believes in himself right now. But what will happen if he gets
cracked?
Yeah. That's the question.
Well, this is where I think you said earlier, the opposition, the quality of opposition comes into it, because can we confidently say that Billy Joe's been tested to the same extent that Canelo has? And probably not. I mean, he had a good fight with Chris Eubank Jr., although I think his fitness he looked a bit tired to me in the end of that fight. He obviously had moved around a lot, but I feel he could have trained harder. I hope he's in better condition for this weekend than he was. But he took some shots in that fight. He took them well. Eubank Jr. is not a feather duster. He hits hard.
No, absolutely. So, I mean, he does hit hard. I mean, look at him. Like later round with Eubank Jr., he got tired and his punches got a little bit sloppy. Yeah. It could be due to his training or whatever it might be, but you can't make those mistakes against Canelo.
No.
Because with Eubank, although you paid, it wasn't enough. But with Canelo, you'll pay in big sum. Which could cost you the fight within that simple mistake you make. With Billy Joe's another fight with David Mix, I can't even pronounce.
David Lemieux,
yeah. If you watch his fight, he was the best, and I think if that Billy Joe Saunders comes to Canelo's fight and fitter, and a bit tighter guard, I think he's got absolutely chance of a big upset.
Well, I definitely think he's got a good chance. I think that's why it's such an exciting fight, because there's these questions over, he's got different style, he's very fast, he's unbeaten, and that's what makes it such a prospect. Thinking about, we've built Canelo up so much, and deservedly he's so good. Are there other fighters from the kind of recent history that you think would have been a good match for him? I'm thinking along the lines of, Carl Froch, even back to Calzaghe. These guys, how would that have gone, do you think? Or do you think he had the beating of all of those and he's really up there with the all-time greats?
I mean, Carl Froch, Calzaghe, obviously, look at him, he's another one. I think he was a lot better than what he got credit for. He's not known, like the boxing world knows him.
Yeah.
But I think the general public don't know him because he wasn't good at promoting himself.
I think he would have been a great fight for Canelo. Southpaw, high work rate, super fit, granite chin.
Absolutely.
Again, all that self-belief that we're talking about. He's one of these guys who he's not scared. He was never scared, was he? Of an opponent. He was like, it's a boxing match. I'm just going to get in there and do the job. And I think he would have been a very good one. I think Froch would have been a great fight as well.
I think Froch would have been a great fight, but Joe Calzaghe, I think with him, I don't know. I truly believe with those Canelo and Joe Calzaghe, you could truly say that's like a 50-50 fight, 100%. You could probably give a bit of an edge for Canelo in certain things, and then you probably could give some edge to Joe Calzaghe. But I mean, look at Joe's fight with that American lad, where he's supposed to be the next Mike Tyson, and that was like, he's had the worst training camp for that because he had a few injuries, but still he put like one of the best performances of his life, of his whole boxing career. And I mean, Joe Calzaghe, when he go back, he's another absolute monster and legend.
Another fighter's just joined us. Your name is?
My name is Max Mudway. I'm 4-0 as a professional fighter, and big things to come from me.
Absolutely. Canelo Saunders, what do you reckon? What we've been discussing today is massive task for Billy Joe. Obviously, Canelo's a favourite. So if you were part of Billy Joe's camp, how's he going to beat Canelo? What's your tactics?
Okay, well, I think obviously Billy Joe's got to go to his positives and use them against Canelo. And his positives is that he's a tricky boxer. Unlike anyone sort of Canelo's really fought so far, I think. I mean, he's just kind of he's got to stay at range. He's got to keep moving. He's not really going to be looking to stand and trade with Canelo. He's going to be sort of looking to just keep on his toes. I think where fighters have come up short against Canelo in the past is just by going forwards and back, and staying in front of him and letting him work. I think that's where Billy Joe has his advantage, because he's got so much lateral movement. He'll go side to side, and he'll hit you from all sorts of different angles. He'll be hitting you up, down, left, right. He'll be in, out. And I think that's his sort of biggest chance, really.
So I love what you said straight away. The first thing you said was he's got to go to his positive. He's got to use his strengths. And we were just talking a minute ago off camera, like everyone is talking in this fight. Canelo's so good at this. He's got an amazing chin. He hits really hard. He's super fit. You can't talk about the other guys.
No.
You have to talk about what you're going to do.
Exactly.
And I don't know if this is the same for you early in your pro career. Obviously, you can't point to 50 fights and say, "Look, I've been tested." You just got to rely on what you're good at. Is that how you think of fights?
100%. I mean, for my first 4 fights as a pro, I've been fighting against sort of journeyman boxers, which is sort of my first learning fights. And in these fights, you don't necessarily watch videos of who you're fighting to gain that knowledge to sort of get how go in there with a game plan. You sort of just have to adapt to what's in front of you, and that's sort of what it's about as you first turn over. It's about learning and adapting on the job whilst you're in there. Whereas Billy and Canelo, they would have been watching each other like a hawk. All their past fights, what they do well, what they do bad, what they can capitalise on each other for. So at the same time as you're saying he's got to go to his pluses and Canelo's got to go to his pluses, they're both going to be knowing what each other do bad as well to try and counteract that.
Does Canelo do anything bad? Has he got any chinks? Can you see any chinks, do you think?
I mean, I think the only thing from myself is he hasn't been any against any decent movers like Billy Joe, any awkward people like Billy Joe so far. Other than that, really, he's pretty spot on, really. I mean, I think at the moment, my personal view on the fight, I don't think Canelo is going to be beat because mentally as well as physically he's in the peak of his condition, and boxing is predominantly more mentally than physical, I'd say myself. If you're in that peak and you just don't believe no one can beat you, that's it. You got that belief. You got that belief in yourself. And
talked about that, didn't we? Saying, once you get to that level, like you said, everyone's fit. Yeah. They can all punch. Yeah. They can all take a punch. Yeah. So that comes down to the mindset.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So if, let's say, Canelo wins or Billy Joe, what do you think? How will it go down?
So I don't think it's going to be an early stoppage on either part. I think Canelo wins, but I think Billy Joe is going to make it a very tough time for him for the first 5 or 6 rounds, and then I think Canelo's going to get his number and he's going to potentially stop him.
Right.
I don't think it'll be a points. Decision.
I love the fact that you've not sat on the fence and you've just told it.
I'm in myself. I'm not a betting man. I don't ever really bet or anything, but I'm 90% sure that Canelo is going to win. But just because it's purely because I believe in mental element, and he is in his mental element right now. And unless he lets himself slip up, I don't think he can lose.
He's in his zone right now.
Yeah,
and
that's
it's
it.
Peak of his career.
Yeah,
so 100%.
Yeah.
I think that you're right. I agree with both of what you said. I also think
I can see your butt coming in here.
Well, I also think that it's that fires up Billy Joe.
Yeah.
The fact that he's completely the underdog and everyone's saying Canelo's untouchable. Yeah. I think personally that is one of the things that drives him. 100%. I said before, I don't think he's just there to collect a check. I think he really wants it.
Yeah.
I don't think he's scared either. We were talking off camera, like the fighters that we both respect. I certainly respect people like Holyfield in the past who weren't afraid of Tyson. He could just walk up to him, jab in the face, and say, "I'm here. I'm going to take it." And I think that Billy Joe is the same. I don't think he's going to run away from him. I think, like you said, he's going to be really awkward and horrible and all over the place, and try and make it a messy scramble affair and put Canelo off his rhythm. And
he's already tried putting him off his rhythm before the fights even began. The games and having his family behind him whilst they're facing off, saying you're about to lose. The mind games, all of it. He's trying all the tricks in the book. And don't get me wrong, he's in a camp with Tyson Fury, who's one of the biggest mind games people going. So if he's got him backing him behind, he's going to be feeding him stuff of what to say.
What's it like in your stage of your career? Does that part of it, in terms of the mental game, and how are you training that aspect? How are you preparing that aspect of your game, that mental strength?
So in terms of my own mental strength, it's absolutely massive because, like I said, these are the learning fights where you got to start learning how to deal with that mental aspect yourself. It's not so much against the opponent because I haven't actually had an actual face-off yet with an opponent because, like I say, it's just journeyman. But dealing with that mental aspect, I'm doing more learning and growth in my own time. So when I'm at home, when I'm here in the gym, in the books, watching videos, podcasts, self-growth things, mental building, strength exercises, and that is what's helping me deal with certain things, you know. Yeah. And it's those sort of things which people don't actually realise as a professional boxer. It's not just what you do in the gym; it's what you do outside the gym as well, in your personal time and your own time, that actually are going to be the main things that propel you into that next level.
You have to be a student of the sport.
Exactly right. You've got to love what you do, and you've got to be falling in love with the things that you hate. And yeah,
nice
man, he's on fire today.
Making
it rain.
That's it. Yeah. But I think that's it in a nutshell, really, isn't it? Like, it's like wherever you hate the most is what's going to be your biggest flaw. So
what are you thinking of when you say that? Is there something, a particular part of training that you absolutely hate that you hate yourself for?
I'll give you an example of literally something that's happened 10 minutes ago. So I feel a bit crappy today. I feel crap. I rang my trainer and I said, John, I don't really want to train today, so I cancelled my session. 10 minutes later, I said to myself, you are acting like a right little girl. Sort yourself out, grind out your session. You don't want to train. This is when you got to train. So I rang him back up and I said, I'll be here for free. Let's go.
Are you going to make any adjustments? So if I, like with my coach, boxing, if a boxing coach head on, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
It really resonates. With my sports scientist head on, I'm like, your body's telling you something, and I'm the first one to say, sometimes it's just telling you, it's pretending, and you should be like, force it down.
Yeah.
But are you going to make any adjustments? Is there a reason why you're tired or feeling low? Are you going to adjust your session? What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I mean, there's not much adjustments you could do when you got your trainer sort of over your back. But at the same time, like we will communicate, and he knows that I'm sort of feeling a bit crappy today. I've had a long week with because I'm a personal trainer here as well. Long days. A lot of sessions, which is when you're training boxers and young lads, you're moving with them as well, so it's a lot of wear and tear on the body. But more so than anything, it's more just, again, like a mental side of things. It's just strengthening that mental side where I'm trying to make an excuse for something I don't really need to, you know. So luckily I made the decision, and then I decided to counteract myself and sort it out for myself. So wicked. There it is.
Love it. Thanks a lot.
And here he is now to give me a beasting. Nice man. Thank you. Good to meet you as well. Thank you. Cheers. Oh, that's all right, mate. Nice one.
Introduce himself.
Man.
Right, just go, yeah?
Go for it, yeah.
Right then, my name's John Pittman. I own Fight Factory Gym in Gloucester. I've been coaching for 12 years. I'm also Shabir's boxing coach. And my opinion on the Canelo and Billy Joe Saunders fight, obviously I'm backing the Brit. I want Billy Joe to win. However, don't think that he's boxed regularly enough over the last few years at the highest level to compete with Canelo. I do think that his movement is good, but I think Canelo is all round just too good.
The diplomatic answer, and actually the three of us that were talking before, no one said about how active he's been and who he's faced in recent years, which I think is an interesting point. Can I ask you, what difference does the style make? The fact that he's southpaw, he's a bigger man, he's got a longer reach. How will Canelo adjust to that? Do you think it would be easy for him, or do you think that is actually going to make a problem for Canelo?
I think Billy Joe Saunders is a tricky fighter for anybody. He's definitely probably one of the most tricky fighters that Saunders is one of the most tricky fighters that Canelo has faced. But he just doesn't, Kovalev was way bigger than Billy Joe Saunders. He didn't have a problem there. So it's all to do with timing. He gets his distance, he'll cut the ring off. And I think the thing with Canelo is he's very accurate. So he doesn't waste a lot of punches. I know somebody who's sparred quite a lot of rounds with Canelo, and he said that he just makes tiny little adjustments that stop you hitting him clean.
Yeah.
And when he throws punches, everything lands. Yeah. Everything lands exactly where he wants it to land.
Well, he's in that gym, isn't he, where they all hook with horrible intentions. Garcia and all of them throw those punches like that, like they're trying to kill you every time.
The difference between a top level fighter and an elite level fighter is timing and accuracy. you know, you get some really good lads, and you know they're brilliant all round. But the ones that are different are the ones that they put the shots exactly where they're meant to land, and we're talking like millimeters.
Yeah.
The difference between me hurting you with a body shot and me dropping you with a body shot is millimeters, and
he's able to do that.
Yeah,
Callum Smith.
Yeah. He made, you know, Callum Smith is massive for the weight.
He's a talented guy.
Much bigger than Billy Joe Saunders, and he made him look very ordinary. So,
Billy's got his work cut out.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think Billy Joe Saunders, because of his attitude in the fact that I don't think the occasion will phase him. I don't think the fact that he's on the biggest stage will phase him. I just don't think that Canelo is ready to be dethroned at this particular time.
What would you have been getting Billy Joe to do in training if you were preparing him then? Would you be working on his fitness so he could move around? Would you be working on the feints? What kind of... I
think a bit of everything, really. I mean, it's all about moving, getting his footwork right. You know, I mean, that is one thing he is very good at. Feints, punches and bunches, and getting in and out, and you've got to try and hit and not be hit.
Has Canelo got any weaknesses?
No, I don't think he has. You know, because he's boxed so regularly at the top level, and he's boxed so many different styles, I just don't think that Billy Joe will have anything that he hasn't seen before. He might be a little bit better than some of the others at what he does, but you know, when you look at the people he's beaten, like David Lemieux, Chris Eubank Jr., none of them are really, you know, David Lemieux is a good level fighter, but he's not an elite level fighter.
They're not Kovalev and Triple G, are they?
No. So, you know, I would really like Billy Joe Saunders to win, obviously because he's British, but I just don't see it.
So you can take it to the bookies.
How do you see it going down then?
I think that Canelo will win comfortably on points.
You see it going the distance?
Yeah. The Americans like aggression.
Yeah.
They like to see you coming forward. They like to see you know, you planting your feet and throwing punches. And I think where Billy Joe will be backing off quite a lot, not backing off but using his feet, that could possibly be seen by some judges as negative. Yeah. Whereas if he was to stand toe to toe with Canelo, that would be seen as that's what Americans want to see.
Yeah.
So I think Billy Joe Saunders is in a very difficult position where his style may not be what the judges like.
Yeah.
But hopefully he can pull it off. But it would be a big upset if he did. You know, it's got to be up there with one of the biggest upsets in history, like you know, Don Curry and Lloyd Dunnigan, and maybe Andy Ruiz and Anthony Joshua. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Awesome, thanks.
Right.
Appreciate it.